You're listening to the Dental Zone podcast. I'm Dr Rachel Hall. This is the place that supports you to understand your dental issues, the causes and how to prevent them, empowering each individual to get the most out of life while bearing a stunning smile. Hello, I'm Dr Rachel Hall, holistic dentist from Brisbane, Australia. Thank you for joining me in the zone. Today I'm talking about how to eat to prevent tooth decay. You can check us out on holisticdentistry.au. Let's get in the zone. Healthy eating for a healthy mouth. How to prevent tooth decay and gum disease through diet. Tooth decay is an infection of your tooth. Now, your teeth are the hardest things in the human body, yet tooth decay can turn your tooth into this soft, squidgy, mushy mess. You can just absolutely destroy it. So we're told that tooth decay is caused by eating too much sugar, and that sugar feeds the decay bacteria in your mouth, and that makes the bacteria produce acid that dissolves your tooth enamel. And then these bacteria go inside your tooth and eat the insides of your tooth away. So part of how susceptible you are to the process of tooth decay depends on how well your tooth grew, so the protein scaffolding and the matrix, how well that developed, and also how well that calcified, so how well it became hardened into a crystalline structure. Then there's the type of bacteria that you have present, a little bit to do with your genetics and your overall health. But, if you've got good, well-formed, strong enamel, it's going to be more resilient to tooth decay. Now, this tooth decay occurs when toothbrushing is inadequate and when we don't floss in between the teeth. We'll get decay in between the teeth. If we don't brush or floss sufficiently, we will get decay. Brushing and flossing is designed to remove the bacterial buildup that forms on your teeth. This is what we call plaque. That's a soft, sticky layer that needs cleaning away on regular intervals, at least every 12 hours or so. And so that action of brushing and flossing, getting in and around the teeth is going to remove that buildup. That means that we are responsible for controlling the environment in the mouth and preventing tooth decay. But really, what I've seen in the years is that we can tell people brush, floss, don't eat sugar, but is it as simple as that? Is there more to tooth decay than that? Are there other factors that are going to contribute to tooth decay? Now, one aspect of tooth decay, which I didn't even know about, we weren't trained this at dental school, so I don't expect you to know this unless you're very well read on the topic, is that inside your tooth there's actually a flow of fluid. Now, your tooth is like a closed high-pressure system. And so when it's healthy, you've got this fluid pushing through inside the tooth. And this was found during experiments in the 1960s that was conducted by Dr. Ralph Steinman of the Loma Linda School of Dentistry. And he was found the fluid, or the lymph, which is the same as that flows through your lymphatic system in your body, that's inside your tooth. And from the pulp chamber, which is the inner part of the tooth, which contains your nerve and your blood supply and the nerves, there's a fluid that migrates under pressure to the outside of your tooth. So there's a flow of fluid that comes up through the tip of the root, passes up inside the tooth, and then out to the surface, a little bit like sweat coming up through the skin. Now, this fluid comes out at your tooth where it's attached to the little ligament or the gum tissue that holds it in place inside your jawbone. So as long as you've got this positive flow of pressure coming up through the tooth, from the inside to the outside, bacteria from the mouth technically can't enter into or live in the microscopic tubes that make up the root structure and the internal parts of your teeth. Now, what they discovered during these experiments was that when you eat sugar, it actually changes this mechanism. So the fluid pump is reversed and it begins to act like a suction pump, pulling in and allowing bacteria to enter into the tooth by drawing them inside. Now, this mechanism is under control of a hormone called the parotid hormone that's made by the salivary glands. And that hormone is the gatekeeper for the flow of the fluid inside the teeth. And this is called the dentinal flow or dentinal fluid flow theory of tooth decay. So this theory says we eat too much sugar, we switch off that hormone, the fluid flow reverses and you're drawing bacteria into your tooth rather than pushing them and keeping them out. As a dentist, I was trained that the only thing that causes tooth decay is sugar, and that sugar makes the plaque build up, and then if we don't clean the plaque away, we get tooth decay. And I'm sure you were told the same. And this is why in the dental zone tonight, I'm talking about the basics of tooth decay, that we're told it's caused by sugar and not brushing and flossing enough, but also that there's a flow of fluid that comes up through the blood vessel and nerve chamber from the tip of the root up through the tooth and out to the surface. And that fluid is controlled by a hormone that gets affected by sugar. So if we eat too much sugar, the flow reverses and we suck bacteria into the tooth, and that is one of the theories as to why teeth decay. So what you eat not only affects your teeth and that fluid flow, it also affects your gut and the bacteria that live within it. Now, the majority of the bacteria that are in our mouth and gut are what we call gut bacteria, and they're designed to work with our body, support the immune system, and defend us from the bad and harmful bacteria and any microorganisms like yeast, such as Candida. So when we don't eat well, we're going to be feeding the bacteria the wrong things, and when we feed them the wrong foods, those harmful bacteria will overgrow, and when that happens, that causes inflammation and a weakened or poor immune response. It also leads to damage to the gut wall, and that allows partially digested foods and toxins to escape from the gut and into the body, and this is what we call leaky gut syndrome. So essentially, when your gut isn't right, you're not right. And for your teeth and your gut to be healthy, the most important thing is avoiding sugar in all its forms, because if you're going to eat sugar, it's going to reverse the fluid pump in the teeth, drawing those tooth decay causing bacteria, and put you at risk of getting cavities. But that sugar, processed grains and refined foods is also going to disturb the balance of your healthy bacteria. And they're what we call pro-inflammatory, which means they switch on, trigger and cause inflammation. They're also going to weaken your immune response. Eating too much sugar is also going to increase your tendency towards insulin resistance, which is and metabolic syndrome, also obesity. And these are all going to be factors in diabetes, poor cardiovascular health, increased risk of dementia and types of cancers. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of what healthy eating looks like. And eating for health is not about controlling calories and restricting calories. It's not about trying to lose weight, but it's about providing the optimal nutrition that your body needs. It's going to give you a diet that is nourishing, satiating, it fills you up and it fills you up for a long time. And it's also going to be anti-inflammatory, which means it's going to help your body heal and repair and not switch on inflammation. So simply, by eating the way that nature intended, you keep your blood sugars in check, your weight, and also the bacteria in check as well. And that's without the effort of dieting and extreme exercise. Just simply eating the way nature said. You know, nature gave us everything we need, so why do we have to eat bags of chemicals and processed foods? To me, that's just very, very insane. So I'm going to give you some basic guidelines for healthy eating, for healthy teeth. And I'm not going to go into, any particular type of diet. I'm just going to give you some loose things that you can apply if you're not already doing these. So I want you to eat as close to nature as you can. Include a wide variety of vegetables, especially the leafy greens. A simple way to do this is have a rainbow on your plate. So eat foods that have a range of colours. Not only do they contain lots of antioxidants and great nutrients, they look appetising and appealing. And when you look at your food and go, oh, that looks great, that gets your body ready for the digestive process. So your mouth starts to water and the acids in your stomach are starting to get released. Now, your mouth and your teeth are the first step in that digestive process. So they break down the food, they introduce digestive enzymes from the saliva before the food gets swallowed and hits your stomach. When we eat, we need to feed our brain. So our brain takes up about 2 to 3% of our body weight, but it actually consumes about 25% of the body's total energy. Now, interestingly, our gut is often called the second brain because it contains a huge complex of nerve endings that signal our brain more than it actually signals the gut. So the gut is actually saying to the brain, this is what we want, this is what we need. So if you've been feeding your gut lots of sugar and that's what your bacteria in your gut are craving, it's going to signal, I want more sugar, I want more sugar, as well as other sort of addictive centres in the brain that get lit up. So this is called the gut-brain connection. And when we eat, we are feeding that directly. We're actually feeding the bacteria and the microorganisms in our gut before we feed ourselves. So as I said, I'm not going to go into all the different myriads of diet types that are out there, but I'm just going to give you some principles that you can apply to your food choices that are going to help prevent tooth decay and also help prevent gum disease, systemic disease, and help keep you fit and healthy as you age. The simplest way to think about eating is to eat foods that are as primitive or as nature intended as possible. So they're going to be alkaline, colourful, and where you can, organic. These principles of eating natural, real food that is alkalizing, full of antioxidants and low in chemicals and toxins is going to help prevent cancer, heart disease, diabetes, and many more illnesses. They're going to help you maintain a healthy weight, feel vibrant and alive now and into old age. Let's talk about eating primitive. That means eating less processed and packaged foods and snacks. Give those potato chips and sweets and lollies a miss. It means eating more food that comes straight from the farm to the table. It's about eating real food, not manufactured and man-made. So it's going to include things like meats, fish, vegetables, and seasonal fruit and plenty of water. Eating alkaline means keeping a good balance between acidic foods, which are your animal-based foods, and your alkaline or your plant-based foods. We're designed to be alkaline with our pH. So the pH inside the cells is at about 7.3 to 7.5. And consuming alkaline foods is going to reduce inflammation in your blood and in your body. It's going to keep your body nice and alkaline, which is the conditions that we stay healthy. As soon as we start to go acidic, we get inflammation and we get problems within the body. So tooth decay, for example, occurs more readily in a acidic environment. And if your body and your saliva are not kept alkaline enough, your teeth will rot. Food that contains lots of minerals like calcium and magnesium is going to help alkalise your body and your mouth. So don't skimp on those green leafy vegetables or things like nuts or seeds. Eating colourful means choosing foods that are naturally green, red, yellow, orange and purple. That does not mean Skittles, Smarties or M&Ms. They are not naturally that colour. They are not natural foods. So I'm just going to get that out there before any of you are trying to negotiate on that one. So you want to have those rainbow coloured foods. You want to be getting at least 6 servings a day. Eating this way is going to provide important minerals and vitamins, get you your antioxidants for your body without you having to resort to taking supplements. They're also going to provide a lot of fibre, and that's essential for good gut health. You need vitamin A, C and E from your vegetables for healthy teeth and gums. Now, eating organic, that means that you're going to be avoiding pesticides, avoiding toxins and GMO foods. Now, research has shown that our bodies don't know how to process or cope with these substances. So, for example, now we have wheat that has been modified and developed for fast growth and to be insect and pest resistant. But because of that, we've now got a product that contains a mega amount of gluten. And we weren't designed to deal with that amount of gluten in our guts. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing huge increases in people with gluten intolerance, because the food has been messed around with and it's not as how nature originally intended it. Now, the easiest way to change your eating habits is to change the way you shop. So when you go to the supermarket or food stores, for example, shop around the perimeter. Buy things from around the edge of the store, because this is where the majority of the fresh produce is. So just avoid those middle aisles, don't go down them, avoid all those areas where the processed foods are. Anything that comes in a packet, a box or a can is not as nature intended it. It's really quite simple. That way you haven't got to spend hours reading labels and wondering what it is you're doing and making it complex. So what else do you need for healthy teeth? Well, you need fat-soluble. I'm having real trouble getting my words out tonight. Hang on, let me just take a breath and slow down. So you need some fat-soluble vitamins, so like vitamin A and vitamin K2. You're also going to need vitamin D and calcium. Now, calcium is best obtained from your diet and not in the form of supplements. These can't make up or replace the lack of calcium in your diet, because they're actually often the wrong form of calcium and you can't utilise and absorb it correctly into the body. So there are schools of thought, in fact, that say we're having too much calcium in our food and this is one of the causes of illness. And look, when it comes to calcium, I'm going to put it out there. As far as I'm concerned, drinking milk is not the source of calcium we think it is. Because the way milk is produced, it's from another species as well. That calcium is not readily absorbed into the body and it's often quite insoluble. And even though it might say this milk contains X amount of calcium, it's not being absorbed where it needs to go. So the best way to get the calcium that you need for your teeth and bones is to eat lots of green leafy vegetables like kale, broccoli, bok choy and Asian greens. Get proteins from sardines, salmon and almonds. They're great sources of calcium, and so are figs and oranges when they're in season. Now, the key to optimal nutrition and being able to utilise these foods with all their abundance of nutrients is that our digestion needs to be firing on all cylinders. So digestion begins in the mouth. What we put in our mouth and the health of our mouth affects how our food is digested. Remember that your immune system relies heavily on having a healthy gut. 70% of your immune system function develops in your gut, and your mouth is the beginning of your digestive tract. It's part of your gut. The enzymes in your saliva begin the process of digestion. It breaks down starches. Your saliva wets your food and makes it moist. Your teeth chew the food, break it up, break it down so there's more surface area, so that when it hits the digestive enzymes in your stomach and your intestines, they can get to work on that food more easily. So chewing is also going to release products that boost our immune system response. Now, when your teeth are damaged or they're missing, or you've got a poor or misaligned bite, this is going to affect how well you can digest and chew your food and how it gets broken down. So when your teeth are damaged, your bite's out of alignment, you've got any issues with your bite, it's going to affect how well you digest your food, because you can't chew it properly and your food doesn't get adequately broken down. The same is true if you wolf down your food and you don't chew it enough. So when you lose teeth, your bite drifts and shifts, and because of this, the remaining teeth just aren't as efficient anymore. Yes, absolutely, we can live without teeth, but it does come at a price. You're going to get fewer nutrients that are readily available for your gut to absorb, because you can't chew and break down your food down effectively in your mouth. Now, chewing also has another role. It signals our nervous system and our hormone systems. It instructs the liver to produce bile, and the stomach to produce acid, both of which are needed to break down and absorb the goodness from your diet. Now, you can optimise your digestion by chewing your food more, chewing it more times, for longer, more effectively, not putting quite so much in your mouth each time, and making sure you really break that down and get that chewing action going. Also, you can optimise your digestion by limiting or excluding drinking fluids while you eat. So this is apparently, if you do that, it dilutes your stomach acids. So adequately chew your food, get the saliva mixed in, turn that food into a slushy paste that's easily swallowed and more able to be digested. The stomach acids will then further break down the slushy food and allow it to be processed and absorbed through the small intestine. So drinking while eating can interfere with the levels and activity of the stomach acid and bile. And bile is needed to emulsify fats in the diet so that it can actually be absorbed. And just a point of note here, eating fat does not make you fat. You need fats to survive and to be able to absorb and transport fat-soluble vitamins. These low-fat diets, which have been heavily pushed to promote weight loss, actually contribute to illness. So those fluids that you have while you're eating slows down your digestive process, and it can cause a buildup of toxic waste in your gut, even if you're having a really healthy diet. So it's recommended that if you have a drink, you have it about 30 minutes before or after you eat to help the digestion do its thing. Now, I touched on earlier about leaky gut syndrome, where your bacteria become overgrown and your gut becomes damaged from inflammation and bacterial infection. Now, this is a condition where your intestines become more permeable, which means things can seep through more easily. And the cells that line the walls of the gut aren't joined together as tightly or as well. And this means that larger molecules of undigested food, toxic substances, leak into your bloodstream. And this triggers your white blood cells to multiply and to fight what they perceive to be an infection in your blood. Now, you can imagine that this ramps up and stresses your immune system to the point where it can become exhausted and not able to fight other type of infections. It's going to put your entire body in what we call perpetual fight-flight mode, and that's going to stress all your vital organs. This can be avoided by having sound, healthy teeth and gums with a balance of chewing forces so that the foods are chewed well, mixed properly with saliva, and then the food can be optimally used in the body. It's important to have a good flow of quality saliva as well to support this. And unfortunately, due to excess inflammation, or if we are on certain types of medications like antidepressants, for example, the saliva flow and its quality can become compromised. Now, yes, we can combat this with saliva stimulating products or artificial saliva sprays and medications to protect the teeth from being more prone to tooth decay, and also to support your digestive processes. But ideally, we want to keep those salivary glands nice and healthy. And apparently, as we age, we produce less saliva, but I think that's a byproduct of being inflamed and toxic and stressed, rather than it's an aging thing where as we get older, we produce less saliva. So one of the main causes of inflammation for many people is gluten. Now, gluten causes your gut cells to release a protein called zonulin, and that breaks apart the cell junctions of the intestinal lining, causing inflammation. And that's going to create those cell junctions that are supposed to hold nice and tight to open up. And so infections, stress, age, a buildup of toxins, eating things that are pro-inflammatory will also cause those tight cell junctions to break apart and cause leaky gut. Now, toxins are a big problem, and removing them from your system is a good way to rebalance your body. Your body becomes weaker as it encounters molecules it wasn't designed to handle. Now, these molecules include toxins you eat in your food, like steroids, antibiotics, hormones, and GMOs. We're exposed to toxins in the environment, and they become locked into the body, things like arsenic, lead, mercury, aldehydes, carbon dioxide, and other airborne particles as well. So by removing toxins from your bloodstream, particularly things like heavy metals, this can be done through a process known as chelation. A chelate is a chemical compound that contains at least one metal ion. That's attached to two non-metal ions for those of you who like a little bit of nerdy trivia and science. Your body is designed to both produce toxins as byproducts of cell metabolism and also the chelates, the products that are there to mop them up. Nature's fantastic. Our body is so beautiful. It produces toxins as part of its waste, and it also produces what's needed to detox and mop that up. Incredible, really beautiful. And so that should be imbalanced and in harmony, because our body knows how to self-regulate. It knows how to mop up those toxins. The problem comes when there are too many toxins, or the mechanisms of detoxification aren't working well, and then we need some extra help in the form of chelation. So there are products like zeolites, and they can be used to help remove and shift mercury, for example. They can cause an array of systemic challenges, so I would advise that you seek the services of a skilled practitioner to support and direct your detoxification and chelation process. Please don't go and buy stuff online or think that you can do it yourself. It needs to be carefully tailor-made and monitored. So if you're going to go through a detox, get the proper advice and get the proper care. So as I was mentioning earlier, we have this second brain in our gut, and this is created by the massive volume of bacteria that live there, and also a vast network of nerve cells. Now, our bacteria in our gut are called our human microbiome, and it's a sophisticated and helpful population of bacteria. And that communicates with our body and vice versa via the millions of nerves and neurons, which are nerve cells in our gut. And that helps control the muscle movement and secretion of hormones and enzymes into the gut. Now, this microbiome is also present in the mouth, because this is the start point of our gut. This microbiome is in the mouth. It's part of the gut system. It's intertwined with our existence and well-being. And without it, actually, we would die. If we didn't have bacteria in our gut, we would not survive. Those bacteria are working with us. They're not parasites or feeding off us. They're working in harmony with us to keep us healthy and well. So it's no wonder that it's been stated that the health begins in the gut. So to sustain those healthy gut bacteria, and that includes the ones in our mouth, we need a balance of the pH in our system. And when there's a pH imbalance, the microbiome goes out of balance, and that can lead to an overgrowth of candida, and that's a yeast that's responsible for bloating and a whole host of symptoms associated with healthy gut. Also, when we've got candida, it lives off sugar. It craves sugar. So it starts sending signals to your body that it wants sugar, and you become caught in this vicious cycle of eating something that feeds something that you don't want and you want to get rid of. In the mouth, when your pH is imbalanced, it's going to allow bad bacteria to take over, and that's going to result in an increase of tooth decay and gum disease. Now, these imbalances occur when we don't chew our food properly, we drink too much fluid with our meals and we're not digesting because we're switching everything off. We eat the wrong kind of foods like processed and refined grains. We're having gluten, sugar, coffee and alcohol. Antibiotics will also destroy our bacteria in our gut and mouth. And the balance of pH is really important, because when it's out of whack, it's going to rob the body of vital nutrients like minerals that we need for our body to function, because our body's actually using those minerals to buffer and offset the acidity. So one of the paths to healing is to eat in a way that's going to restore and retain the balance of our intestinal bacteria. Now, this process can be supported by the use of probiotics and even prebiotics. Now, there's a fine balance between what we eat, our health, and the prevention of disease and dental decay. By addressing our eating and reducing toxins, we can go a long way to living a vital and energised life, having less dental decay and less gum disease. It's simply a choice to shift away from our modern, unhealthy processed diet back to one that nature intended, and making sure you brush and floss.
Thank you so much for joining me today on the Dental Zone podcast. I'm Dr Rachel Hall, holistic dentist from Brisbane, Australia. Check us out at holisticdentistry.au, and you can call my clinic on 07 37 20 1811 if you'd like to book for a consultation. Thank you so much for being in the zone. You've been listening to the Dental Zone podcast with Dr Rachel Hall. For health, lifestyle, fitness, and a great smile, get in the zone.